Alright, buckle up Dateline NBC viewers, because we're about to dive headfirst into the gloriously twisted question of why some folks decide that collecting human body parts is a viable career path. Now, before you clutch your pearls, remember we're approaching this with a blend of scientific curiosity and the kind of dark humor that helps us cope with the truly bonkers aspects of human behavior. Think of it as a true crime documentary narrated by your slightly unhinged but surprisingly well-read aunt. Okay, deep breaths, everyone. Serial killers. The very words conjure up images of shadowy figures, flashing police lights, and enough psychological trauma to fuel a lifetime of therapy sessions. But beyond the Hollywood gloss and the true crime podcasts lies a tangled web of factors that can tragically lead a human being down such a horrific path. We're not here to excuse their actions. Spoiler alert, there are no excuses but to delve into the why with a sprinkle of wait, seriously moments along the way. Let's kick things off with the age-old debate. Are serial killers born this way? Or are they a product of their environment? Well, the scientific consensus leans towards a delightful cocktail of both. Genetics can certainly play a role, laying down a foundation of certain predispositions. Think of it like inheriting your Uncle Barry's questionable fashion sense. You might have the potential for disaster, but it takes specific life choices to truly embrace the Hawaiian shirt and socks with sandals combo. Did I hit a nerve? Studies have explored links between certain genes and traits like impulsivity, aggression, and a lack of empathy, the emotional equivalent of a broken thermostat. Neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, the brain's little messengers, can also be out of whack in individuals with violent tendencies. It's like their internal mail system is delivering all the wrong packages to all the wrong departments. Now, before you start eyeing your quiet cousin with suspicion, remember that having a genetic predisposition is not a guarantee of becoming the next Ted Bundy. It's more like having a slightly higher risk factor, like being really good at losing your keys. It just means you need to be extra careful with the environment you find yourself in. Childhood trauma. Childhood trauma. The uninvited guest at the party of life that just keeps spilling the punch and telling offensive jokes. This is where things often get, well, deeply unsettling. A significant percentage of serial killers have a history of severe childhood abuse, neglect, or abandonment. Imagine your formative years being a constant barrage of fear, pain, and the feeling of being utterly worthless. It's like trying to build a house on a Florida sinkhole. This kind of trauma can warp a child's developing brain in profound ways. It can lead to difficulties in forming healthy attachments, regulating emotions, and developing empathy, that crucial ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Without it, other people can start to look less like fellow humans and more like, well, objects. And that, my friends, is a very slippery slope. We're talking about things that would make your eyebrows do a synchronized dance of horror, physical abuse that leaves scars both visible and invisible, emotional neglect that whispers insidious lies about self-worth, and the kind of instability that makes a roller coaster look like a relaxing Sunday drive. These experiences can create deep-seated rage, resentment, and a desperate need for control, a twisted attempt to regain power in a world that once made them feel utterly powerless. And to top this all off, serial killers are often bedwetters. Yep, you had the crap kick out of you both physically and mentally, and to top it off, you wake up in a puddle of wee-wee. Check your weird cousin's closet for a stack of plastic sheets. Round 3, the psychological playground, where fantasies take a dark turn. Now, let's step into the murky realm of the mind. For some individuals, violent fantasies can become a disturbing form of escapism, a way to cope with feelings of inadequacy or powerlessness. In my opinion, while Coyote is the ultimate serial killer model, inadequate at killing the Roadrunner, powerless against the Roadrunner, fixated on the Roadrunner. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a den full of furniture made from bunny carcasses. These fantasies can start relatively harmless, like imagining winning a heroic battle against an enemy army. But for some, they can gradually become more graphic, more focused on control and domination, and eventually, tragically, involve real people. Think of it like a video game that starts out with cartoonish violence and slowly escalates to hyper-realistic gore. Something my son would play. The lines between fantasy and reality can become dangerously blurred, especially when coupled with a lack of empathy and a history of trauma. These fantasies can act as a rehearsal, a mental blueprint for the horrific acts they will later commit. It's important to remember that having dark thoughts occasionally is a normal, albeit uncomfortable, part of the human experience. It's when these thoughts become obsessive, intensely detailed, and accompanied by a lack of remorse or a desire to act them out that alarm bells should be ringing louder than a Metallica concert. The why now factor triggers and turning points. So, we've got the potential genetic loading, the devastating impact of trauma, and the insidious creep of dark fantasies. But what often pushes someone over the edge from thinking about violence to actually doing it, this is where triggers and turning points come into play. These can be a variety of stressors or life events that act as the final straw, the catalyst that ignites the already smoldering tinderbox. Like these. Significant loss. The death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or even the loss of a job can trigger feelings of rage, despair, and a desire for revenge, humiliation, and rejection. Deep-seated feelings of inadequacy and a fear of being ridiculed can fuel a need to assert dominance and control over others. Escalation of fantasies. Sometimes, the fantasies simply become too powerful to contain, demanding to be acted out in the real world. Substance abuse. Drugs and alcohol can lower inhibitions and impair judgment, making it easier for violent impulses to surface. Exposure to violence. Witnessing or experiencing further violence can desensitize individuals and reinforce the idea that violence is a viable solution to problems. It's like a pressure cooker that has been slowly building steam for years, and a sudden jolt, a trigger, causes it to finally explode in a devastating way. The signature move why some killers do what they do, the weird stuff. Beyond the act of killing itself, serial killers often develop what's known as a signature, ritualistic behaviors or specific methods of killing that fulfill a psychological need beyond simply ending a life. This is where things can get particularly bizarre and disturbing. A signature can involve anything from the way the victim is positioned to the objects left at the scene, to the specific types of wounds inflicted. These acts are often deeply personal and rooted in the killer's fantasies and psychological makeup. It's like their own twisted form of artistic expression, a way to leave their mark and fulfill some internal, often deeply disturbed, narrative. Think of it like a chef who insists on adding a sprig of parsley to every dish, even if it clashes horribly with the flavors. It's an unnecessary element, but it's crucial to their personal, and in this case, deeply deranged vision. Understanding the signature can sometimes provide clues to the killer's motivations and psychological profile. Take these serial killer signatures, for example. Charles Albright, the eyeball killer. Between 1990 and 1991, the bodies of 3 prostitutes were found in Texas with one thing in common: their eyes had been removed with obvious skill. Albright was charged in 1991 after his hair was found at one of the murder scenes. Dennis Rader, the BTK killer. Rader murdered 10 people in Kansas between 1974 and 1991. He was known for strangling most of his victims, but his signature was taunting police and media by mailing in the dirty details of his kills. Details that only the murderer or detectives would know. His attention-seeking actions led some to believe that Rader wanted his BTK persona to be famous, more famous than Rader's seemingly average life allowed. The smiley face killings. Retired New York City detectives Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte believe they've found a terrifying pattern among 45 cases of accidental drownings in the Midwest. Frequently, the men were popular, athletic, and walking home after drinking at a party or bar in the winter. And in at least a dozen cases, smiley face graffiti was found near the crime scene. H.A. Holmes, America's first serial killer, and the first serial killer I made a video on. Go check it out. It's rough but good. During the 1890s in Chicago, Holmes designed a hotel with murder in mind. His murder castle contained stairways that led to nowhere, oddly shaped hallways, doors with curious locks, and other forms of construction designed to hide Holmes' various murder rooms. This was his signature: confusion. Holmes didn't care if he was caught. He cared if he confused the investigators. Holmes would usually target female employees, lovers, and hotel guests, trapping them in soundproof bedrooms fitted with gas lines, iron rooms lined with blowtorches, and his basement torture chamber. Upon his capture in 1894, Holmes explained his actions by saying that he was born with the devil in him. Nature, nurture, and a whole lot of note putting it all together. So, what's the magic, or rather, deeply unsettling, formula for creating a serial killer? It's rarely just one thing. It's usually a complex interplay of genetic predispositions, horrific environmental factors, and deeply disturbed psychological processes. It's the unfortunate collision of vulnerabilities and negative influences that can steer someone down such a dark and destructive path. It's like trying to bake a truly awful cake. You need the wrong ingredients, maybe some expired milk and a generous helping of urine-soaked sheets, a terrible recipe, one that actively encourages culinary disasters, and a complete lack of baking skills, or in this case, a lack of empathy and impulse control. The end result is something truly unpleasant and potentially harmful. Can we spot them coming? The elusive art of profiling. Not even the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, or BAU, can see them coming. So, if they can't, you can't. That is the million-dollar question. Can we identify potential serial killers before they strike? This is the realm of criminal profiling, a fascinating but often imperfect science. While profilers can analyze crime scenes and victimology to develop characteristics of likely offenders, it's not like having a serial killer radar that goes off whenever someone orders their steak well done with ketchup. Certain red flags can emerge, such as a history of animal cruelty, early onset of violent behavior, a fascination with fire setting, and a pattern of lying and manipulation. This is often referred to as the McDonald triad or homicidal triad, although it's important to note that not everyone who exhibits these traits will become a serial killer. It's more like a collection of concerning indicators that warrant attention. But here's the kicker. If these red flags are never reported, major pieces of the puzzle are missing. Profilers are only as good as their information. The takeaway: it's complicated, messy, and utterly tragic. So, why do some people become serial killers? The answer, as we've seen, is a complex and disturbing tapestry woven from threads of genetics, trauma, psychological disturbance, and environmental triggers. There's no single cause, no simple explanation for such profound and horrific acts of violence. It's a stark reminder of the fragility of the human psyche and the devastating impact that abuse and neglect can have on a developing mind. While understanding the why doesn't excuse the actions, it can hopefully lead to better prevention strategies, improved support for at-risk individuals, and a greater understanding of the darkness that can lurk within the human heart. Now, for the most terrifying serial killers. The ones dubbed the no-reason killers, or I was just bored killers. These are people that one day just decide to start killing people. No reason, no motive, no signature, not even a thrill of the kill. Brenda and Spencer opened fire on a group of kids in San Diego, 1979. When asked why she did it, she said, "I don't like Mondays." During the summer of 2007, Viktor Sayenko and Igor Sapryniuk brought chaos and horror to the Ukrainian town of Dnipropetrovsk. In a span of 2 months, these homicidal deviants killed 21 innocent souls. The reason to make a video that people might watch. During a 10-year span in the early 2000s, Israel Keyes went on a nationwide killing spree. After leaving the army in 2001, Keyes traveled the United States robbing banks, kidnapping, and killing. When investigators asked why, Keyes relied, "Why not? Well, sleep well tonight. That's all I've got for you. Actual, you can sleep well." The odds of being killed by a serial killer are 1 in a million. And on that slightly somber note, let's maybe switch to a lighter topic. Anyone else craving a cupcake?